Welcome to Everything in Racing,
I'm Nate Scheibner,
and I am Ernie Murphy.
and our two guests that we have today are my team from the FastPlumber. We've got Fray and we've got Nick.
Good evening.
Welcome,
Good
gentlemen.
evening.
All
Good
right.
evening.
How's it going?
All right. Hello.
How's it going? So we thought on this episode we'd have you two guys on and just kind of talk about how both of you guys got involved with, first of all, Team FastPlumber, and then also just how you guys got into cars separately. You know, because we've got some fun stories about that.
And you guys are with Nate all the time, so I'm like the person that's gonna be listening to this and learning all about you guys, and I'm actually intrigued because a lot of this stuff I don't know myself. So looking forward to hearing about this. So
Nick, do you want to start off telling how you got involved with Team FastPlumber?
So, I met Nate probably as a teenager? Like maybe
I was 18 when you met me.
God, it didn't feel like 18. It felt like 14. But, so we met it then at church. Nate, at the time, had a self-proclaimed very fast car. I think that was
I've heard about this car.
I think it was a bone stock Infiniti G35 with like 100,000 miles.
It was an 06 G35.
Yeah, it was. Of course, it was triple black, the only color car Nate will ever
But
purchase.
did it have any performance stickers on it? That's what I need to know.
I'm sure it had a sticker or two.
Actually, at that time, I was not rocking any stickers,
No
but it did have a
stickers?
cold air intake.
So it at least had an
You were-
extra 6 horsepower.
Yeah, he was down on horsepower. No, the stickers add power, man.
So-
Anyone
To
knows
to
that.
my shame, though, it was an automatic.
So back then, a G35, 285 horsepower
If I'm lucky, brand
Somewhere
new off
around
the
there.
factory floor.
with a cold air intake. So 291 on a cold day going downhill.
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 Yeah. You'd whoop me in your Camaro like all the time. And it was
was-
fine because we enjoyed it.
It was kind of fun. So Nate had this car, and I decided to flip Nate to the dark side early, and I introduced him to the only thing more expensive than a crack cocaine drug habit, which would be racing.
Arguably, a crack cocaine drug habit would be cheaper.
I think so.
Yeah.
So it introduced him, and I told him his car was nice and mildly quick, which maybe was slightly offensive, but in the grand scheme of things, was a bone stock Infiniti G35.
Yeah, I tell people, once again, Nate Swid, once a slow plumber, and you got a really nice Mustang, which I had to get introduced to this car.
Mm-hmm.
But one of our mottos, we're at the company I'm with, 10-5 Life, we tell people, we do event coverage. We tell people about events, and we tell people that their car looks good if it's slow. So if we get that compliment, that's not really always a good thing. When he said your car was nice, I was like, that clicked in my head. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I did get the opportunity when Nate was ready to start stepping up a little bit, wanted to compete. So at the time, I had a 5th-gen Camaro. It was pretty. It was one of those Dusk Edition ones. It was a good-looking car.
ZL1.
Yeah, I ended up going for a ZL1 at one point. But when we went to go get your 15, your current car that we've turned into, emotional damage, it started life off bone stock, right? And
I'm the third owner of that car.
yeah, we
and
went
the
to
other
look at it together.
Yeah, the only modification that was done to the car before I bought it was an oil catch can. That was it.
Yeah, and we missed it.
Yeah, we totally missed. We didn't even
Such
realize it was on the
noobs.
car when we bought it. I bought one, I got it in, and then went to go install it and realized, oh, there's already a catch can there. Cool.
So yeah, we bought it used, but we looked it over for hours in the dealer lot. Like they were like, what's wrong with these two, right? But we inspected every aspect of the car, and then Nate, never having driven a manual before, decided to drive it home in the rain, which was amusing, to say the least.
Yes, I can only imagine what that was like.
Well, and the most experience I'd had was twice I'd driven a Miata, which like you got to give it gas when you're switching gears, right, to stop it from bogging out. This thing, if you gave it any gas, it would just blow the clutch away, and the clutch was actually very, very difficult. Even he admits the clutch was difficult, and the third gear was total witch.
I don't think anyone's ever going to say that the MT82 Coyote transmission was God's gift to manuals transmissions. That thing was...
No.
You could never catch third gear, and the original spring that was in that clutch was just a mess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it had no feel. It had absolutely no feel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I started modifying that car a little bit. Nick and I did a supercharger on it. We put a twin disc. Well, so put the supercharger on it. We had some problems with it that ended up not being our fault. Got those fixed, and then I stripped the clutch in it. So we put a twin disc clutch in it. Then I snapped.
I heard you're kind of hard on parts.
I am.
I've actually seen it in person.
I snapped an axle on it, so we got that fixed, and then we snapped another axle in it. So upgraded again after that.
I'm taking it to the drag strip, but I'm not racing.
I'm
tonight.
totally not racing it, Nick.
I'm not racing it tonight.
And then the final straw for me on it was I bent the shift forks in the MT82, and just like getting it into any gear just sucked. And I was like, I am not rebuilding.
Explain to me what an MT82 is. I'm like some of our listeners. I may not. Be familiar with some of this
MT82 is the stock GT Mustang manual transmission. It is not a racing transmission by any means. It honestly, it's good for driving around town, going like on the back roads and stuff like that. But second to third, you're more likely to go second to fifth. Oh, God. That's how bad the feel is. It's like, and so I'd already damaged it once before and gotten it fixed. And then that last time I damaged it, I was like, I'm done. I was only making 500 something horsepower at that point, and I was like, I'm going with a turbo 400 because that was the logical next step with that car, which is actually where this guy started getting involved with racing when we went to that turbo 400. So Fray, you tell a little bit about how you got involved with Team FastPlumber.
Well, it actually started. I worked for Advance Auto, and he needed parts and he needed some advice. And one of his close friends, Mike, realized that I was helping other guys with their race cars. So we ended up, he was at Gallant, and ended up going down, and he had made a couple of passes. So I told him, I said, well, we'll go up and look and see what you're doing. So I went up to the line, checked out what he was doing, come back, and I told him, I said, we're going to make some adjustments.
So you actually went there to tell him what he was doing wrong, is it? Mm-hmm. Or not really tell him, but see what he was doing wrong, right?
Well, the thing was, I had, I didn't know exactly what he had or seen the car run, so I had, had to see the car to figure out what we could do and what we couldn't do. And luckily we could. We made the next pass. He did a personal best. And
cut 0.3 off of a pass. Just wow. I think all we did was tire pressure.
Yeah, we changed tire pressure on it and everything. And, and that was the start of it. I told him, he said, would you help me? I said, bud, I'll help you. So that's when we met down at the coast. That was the first race.
Yeah, the first race you came to was out at Hertford. Mm-hmm. Actually, the race where I called you out for not taking any video of the newer cars, only of doing Scamp and Justin Taylor's car.
Like I was telling Nick earlier, before we started the podcast, I said, man, I probably took pictures of that car. I was probably in the back of my mind saying, if that car just had something on it that make it stand out a little more, something like American flag or something like that.
Yeah, which she has now. She stands out now. We got tons of pictures over this year.
I'm going to tell you, man, that car has really impressed me out of all the cars. All the races I've gone to this year, I do a little bit from no prep, back at the track, no prep front side, radio prep. Some prep, we know which tracks some of those are, but your car really, of all the cars I've seen this year, it really impressed me the most. To turn around from it just spinning or just having some issues. That was some times that I believe one time we had to push it off the line. It had like an electrical issue or something.
Yeah, the injector fuse actually was with the problem. It wasn't sitting in there tight, and so it would just jiggle and just stop shooting the injectors for some reason.
I believe we backed it up. We said a prayer or something.
Just hit it with a hammer,
Yeah, but we fixed that. But, it's been an uphill battle. I have to give him that. But, honestly, we've done good. And I'm impressed because really and truly, I'm not a Ford guy. I'm actually a General Motors guy. But this car has really changed my outlook on, what these little coyotes can do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it has surprised me. It has got faster than I ever dreamed it would do.
Mm-hmm.
And I was fortunate to be a part of it. And I hope to see what we can do in the years coming.
So, speaking of that, Fray, right over a course of a 3-year journey on the car from I'll call it first mods to end of last season. Why don't you share general times of what it used to do and what it can do?
Yeah, I'm fine with sharing times on the car now because we're not in competition right now. So 2022 we were in the 590 bracket.
Yep.
Right, and the best the car ever did was actually in testing for one of Braxton's races. It was a 5900.
It did.
All out,
It did run a 5.900 flat.
Yeah, there was no number after that.
Like it was one of those like it was never going to happen again. Right?
And that was our first 5.
So did you run a bracket race the following weekend, or?
We should have. We should have entered bracket race. We would have started taking everyone.
The car was stupid consistent on a 5.9.
Yeah. So, but it took us half the season to get there.
Yeah.
We were on a Roush supercharger. I pulled it down. We were on the Turbo 400, and she was a dead consistent 6.3 car. She'd run 6.3 to her heart's content, but I could not get it to go faster than that. So halfway through the season, we put nitrous on the car, and we didn't tell anybody except for my tuner, Lance.
Yeah, I've heard a story about that.
Yeah, and we hit it so bad he couldn't even find it. He couldn't, he's like, "Where'd you hide this stuff?" And we showed him, and he's like, "Holy crap, that's better than I could do," And we have our neighbor Mike Heflin to thank for that one. But we hit it, and then we put the car on. And we started making hits, and everyone starts coming up to the car. "You put nitrous on this car?" I was like, "I did. I don't see it. Where is it?" "I don't know where you hit it, but I know you got nitrous on this car." Now, it was not against the rules. It was totally fine for us to have nitrous on that car, but we did it just to mess with people, really. And after that, it was like deadly consistent on if it took the hit, it was a 590 between a 593 and a 590. Pretty much every single time we ran that car, and that race at Hereford, the first one you came to. Yeah. We beat Wayne, we beat Al, we beat Scamp, and we barely lost to Justin. I think it was like 0.01 of a second that we lost by. Like, it was close. And I was not disappointed at all. Now, I might have been a little disappointed that we didn't get knocked out earlier because from Hertford all the way to here is a 3.5-hour drive. And I did not walk back in my front door until 5 a.m. in the morning.
That's automotive events, man. It's you either have a passion for it or you don't. That's tough and grueling.
Yeah, that hurts. I'll tell you, there's been a couple times where you come in at 3 or 4 in the morning and grab a quick nap and the next day starts and it hurts. It hurts. Yeah.
It did, because I was a fortunate one that had to come home and get up and go back to work.
Yeah. You only slept for like an hour and then you went to work. Did you even sleep or?
No, I slept for about an hour.
Okay.
And got up, went in, and pulled 11.5 hours.
You're.
It's what you do though. Like that's not an uncommon story, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you talk to all the racers, they all do it.
Yeah, you got to have a passion for it, and you got to enjoy it. And then also your partner's got to be, real forgiving about it. Because my wife, bless her heart, she called me to make sure everything was okay. Because normally I'm not out that late. But, she understands that's something I enjoy doing. So she's pretty much, behind it. She used to go with me to a whole lot of races. Mm-hmm. But now with the family and all, she can't do it. But she still supports me with it, so I'm glad of that.
Yeah. Speaking of doing what you have to do, that's one thing I talked to Nate about as we were starting these podcasts up. I said, I wanted to get the fans knowing more about the racers themselves and what they do in their daily life. Of course, your slogan with your own YouTube channel, is One Slow Plumber. I found out
it's the Fast Plumber. Thank you very much.
The Fast Plumber. Excuse me. We'll put a link in there. For
that. I'll tell you the reason behind that name. Actually, when I first started, there was a blue Mustang that was coming out, twin turbo. And it was another plumber, actually, who built that car. And so he would joke around with people that, there was 2 plumbers racing at the racetrack, and there was the blue one and the black one. So when I had to pick a name for my Instagram, I just picked the Fast Plumber and put that there just to poke at him. Sweet, and he actually had a pretty bad wreck with that car, not at the track, on the road, and since has gotten out of racing. So
wow.
That joke doesn't work as well anymore, but it's still, I keep the name because I have it.
It's a good deal. Well, like I was saying, things that you have to do. Can you remember a story? You guys remember a story? Maybe you're on the way to the track as a team, or even between rounds, something you had to do. Did you have to borrow a part off of another car, or spark plug wire, just any story
Oh, I
you might
mean,
have.
how many belts did we go through this year?
Nine.
Nine.
Am I right on
belts.
9?
Yeah.
Yep.
9 Gates green HD belts, and of those 9, I'm going to say at least 2 or 3 of them didn't make it past the first burnout box.
Nope.
Like when you ask how many miles did the belt last, it would be, I don't know, 75 feet.
If it was that much.
Yeah,
it was
if that much.
Yeah. Yep.
So we spent, let's see, belts were around what, $75-$80 a pop.
Yeah. Every belt was $80 a piece.
So
$800 in belts.
Yeah, I was about to say, if we're rounding,
Yeah.
we're
Because
gonna.
it was. We shredded 9, and then the last one stayed on.
So we're at like a grand in serpentine belts.
Yep. Oh, because also the alternator belt went as well.
That's right.
'Cause it's got a secondary belt for the alternator and water pump. That one went twice.
Well, we just got stock in Gates.
Yeah, that was it.
That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It got to the, but I can tell you the part number. I have a picture of the part number of the Gates belt that his car ran in my phone, so that when we were searching, because we bought so many in this area, there were none left. So when we had to get another belt, it was, we're calling all around. Fray's doing his thing, I'm doing my thing, just trying to find a belt.
Yeah.
So when you walk into the parts store and Fray's working, he's like, not again.
Oh, I mean, I've texted him ahead of time. I need this, 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 and this, and I'll show up, and he's like, "Okay, fine, I got most of it."
So you want a story about what it's like, right? Like what you're willing to do to win, and in shredding belts. So the story that comes to mind is Rockingham, which.
Oh, Lord God.
So I'm not going to get it 100% right, because my mind has blocked part of this out for my own health, right? But we go to Rockingham. What race was
Civil
it?
War.
It was Civil Wars at Rockingham. And, Rockingham's a great drive from here. It's an hour and a half. It's straight down one. Pretty simple, right? Hour 45. Not hard to get to. When you get to the track, turn right, you're there. So, it's like going to Rockingham. It's quarter mile. So we're all excited, and we believed for like the 5th time that we got all the alignment issues squared away. We put a new belt on. It wasn't skipping teeth. Everything was looking perfect. We gave it a few throttle whacks. Everything was perfect. We go down there. It shredded the first belt.
Coming off the trailer.
But I don't think we made it to the burnout box. Shredded the belt.
Yeah, I pull it out of the trailer, and I just see bits of belt coming out from under my hood.
That's always a good sign.
And I was like, well, at first I was confused. I was like, what the crap is that? And I was like, oh, it's my belt. And killed it.
So we had a spare belt on the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
We swapped the belt because I remember we did we attempted a pass.
Yeah.
We did the burnout. Belt stayed together. We checked it. You made a pass, but the belt must have obviously come off because your time was terrible. It was like a 7-second,
Yeah.
8th mile pass,
yeah, and it-
right? So
yeah,
the blower stopped spinning.
Yeah, and yeah, we got to the end of it, and half the belt was gone.
Right. So we burned up 2 belts in a matter of an hour, and so we said, look, this is ridiculous. But this was all practice. Eliminations were not to the next day.
To the next day, yeah.
To the next day. So this is now lunch, and we said, well, let's pack up. We're going to go back to the shop, a.k.a. Nate's garage. We're going to work on this car, do whatever the heck it takes, get this stuff fixed, and then we'll see what time it is. So we brought the car back. We loaded up, and of course we had taken out the tent, and every unloading the trailer's a 45-minute process, so we had to put it all back. We're probably mumbling things under our breath that wasn't too kind. We load the trailer back up, and my wife calls me 5 minutes later saying, I see you're on the move down US 1. What's going on? And I said, well, we tore up 2 belts, and she started laughing and hung up. So we make it to your shop.
Mm-hmm.
What is it, like 3?
Yeah, we get to the shop by 3.
About 3. Unload the car, start working on it. And the whole thing, and this will be a whole nother story, I won't get into it here, but the whole thing was getting the crank bolt all the way in so that the pulley alignment was the way that it was supposed to be. And we fought it, and that's a whole nother story.
Mm-hmm.
But we worked
on
on it.
part 2.
That's a part 2 and 3. Homage to all those belts. But we had reason to believe that around 9 o'clock at night, we had maybe gotten that belt alignment issue
I
resolved?
think it was like 7:30. I think we figured
Well,
we got it, and then we started to pack up again.
That's it. So we
Short
left.
time was starting to just-
we left Raleigh
Well,
at 9 because we got back to Rockingham. So I booked a hotel in Rockingham that night from my phone, and we just started driving to Rockingham, and we ended up getting to the hotel at 11.
Yeah, we got to the hotel at 11 and parked in the hotel there at Rockingham. There's only one, first of
Yeah.
all.
The
And
hotel.
That parking lot is not meant for trailers. And so, like, I parked in front of the dumpsters, and I was like, don't worry, because we're leaving, like, first thing in the morning, so we don't have to worry about blocking the trash truck or anything, because we're going to be, like, basically, as soon as the sun's up, we're gone.
So they took your phone number and said, if the trash truck comes before you've moved, we're calling you, and you better get your truck down here and out of the way. So this is 11 o'clock. We we're still like, we're just on pure adrenaline at this point, right? Like, so like going to bed was actually kind of difficult because we're all jacked up, right?
Yeah.
But we're tired, 50% tired, 50% jacked up.
I heard that's what winners are made out of.
That's it. That's it. We sourced one more belt. I think Fray came in clutch and found us another, like the last belt in the southeast of the United States. We put that one belt on. This is it. There's no spare in the trailer. This is the belt, right? We then go back to the track first thing in the morning, 7, 8.
Yeah, they
whatever.
open the gates at 8.
Yeah, 8. So we're there at
So no trash truck come in the middle of the night.
No.
No,
So
we're good.
7:50. We're sitting there waiting for them to open the gate. They opened it. We unpacked the trailer all again. Another 45 minutes. Tent is up.
Next
Generators
time we're gonna need to see a
running.
time lapse on all this.
Yeah. And then Nate, I'm gonna let you. This is where my brain turns the memories off because I start to have PTSD and I shake. And I keep thinking about it.
I backed her out of the trailer, drove it around a little bit. Belt stayed on. We're happy. I whapped the throttle a couple times. Belt stayed on. So they're like, lanes are open for open testing. We were in the 850 class.
10 a.m.
10 a.m. Yep.
Yeah.
So we go up there, do the burnout. Everything's perfectly fine. I get down to just past the 8th mile, and I just see my power go, whoa. And I knew what it was instantly. I was like, crap. Yeah, and so Nick comes around, and he goes, oh, yes, you let off at the 8th? I was like, nope.
I was excited.
Yeah.
Because I thought when he...
Because it left good.
It left like a scalded cat, and it was a quarter-mile run, but it was just practice. And we only had so much ice with us for the day because we had to stop and get ice and all this. So we were a little low on ice. So I thought what he was doing is at the 8th mile, he just cut it off and coasted. So I thought, my thinking was, hell yes, we got ourselves a car. We are ready for them, right? I was jacked.
I drove it around, drove straight in the trailer.
And I'm still walking back to the trailer, and I see him coming in, and instead of him parking underneath the tent and getting out, he just
You're
drove
like, he's
it
coming
right.
in really hot.
He looked like Michael Knight pulling into the back of the truck with Kit, like it just right in, and I said, "Oh, I don't think he let off at the 8th."
That was a dark day. I ended up, we had shredded the belt again. There was like maybe 3 ribs left, and it's a 10 rib belt. It had shredded it down to 3. We ended up, that was when we got hooked up with Kenny and Heidi from Go Fast Garage, because part of the problem I found, so I've used Powerhouse for a while for my tuning and stuff, but part of the problem I found was that if I dropped it off there within 5 minutes, every single person that I race with knows what I've done with my car and what I'm doing with my car. Not because Lance and Ed or any of the guys there are telling them. It's just because so many people are stopping into that shop all the time. And so it's very difficult to keep secrets about your car when your car's literally ripped apart sitting there for everybody to see. But Kenny and Heidi do excellent work. I have never had a single complaint about anything, and like the only time something they didn't work, they drove here to my shop to fix it, which was amazing. I was so happy.
Above and beyond.
Above and beyond, It'd be very easy for them to be like, "Well, bring it to our shop and we'll try again." Yeah,
and I've heard you say they may come on later on the podcast.
Yeah.
I look forward to that.
Yeah, it's it's really funny. If you ever talk to them, Kenny drives the car, but it's Heidi's car.
Oh yeah, she's the boss.
She's the boss. She's the boss.
Absolutely.
You know, after, and I'm sure Kenny will tell us, after he ejected all 8 pistons out of his engine one time, she's like, "You're not tuning this car anymore. You know, you have too many up arrows. You've never learned what the down arrow is." You know, and that was because he forgot to put in a timing retard on his nitrous system, which, Fray, you run tons of nitrous. Yeah. What would happen if you were running, I guess, 24 degrees of timing, then you put a 300 shot of nitrous on it and forgot to retard the timing?
Well, you will get to see what's on the inside, on the outside. It exits real quick, and it's a big mess because we have done it.
Nitrous stuff, and you know, he's worked with nitrous all this time, and you've been running a supercharger. So what was that transition for you, learning from nitrous to supercharger? And who does the actual tuning on your car? Or who has been doing the tuning on your car?
Lance Abbott has been doing the tuning, you know, up to this year.
Okay.
You know, but we basically, Nate learned how to, you know, manipulate the nitrous system, and at that time we made the decisions on. We never bumped up the nitrous or anything. We just programmed it to do what we wanted it to do, and like I say, we were successful with it. We never really had too much problem. Now, we did have one race that we did not run our race. We ran the person we were racing, and that was our stupidity. Well, actually, I'll take the blame for that because he's still on my number 1 hit list. I do want to outrun him.
Logan Pittman.
Yeah.
We blew the tires off. So, Fray, would you explain to everyone what that is? Because that was actually a new concept to me when I started racing with you. You were constantly on me about run my race.
Yep.
You know, like Nick had said versions of that before, but that was a big point with you. So
yeah. Well, the thing is, out of all my racing career, I've never been blessed to have a lot of money to do. Everything I've ever run has been used. And when I got with you, it was like, okay, this is a new outlook. But I still tried to keep that mentality of, you know, not, you know, spending unnecessary money, because I know it's your money, but I just am a tightwad. And at that race, I kind of got in that moment that, you know, we're there, we need to do good, when we should have just, you know, basically run the race that we normally run. We're normally pretty conservative about everything that we do. We're not one of those to try to go out and get a personal best every time we go out there. And I think that was really why we started doing a whole lot better there at the end, once we figured out the car and what the car really liked, how we got where we were at, where we were the bad guys in the group.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, you should have heard some of the complaining at some of the races. There's a reason we named the car Emotional Damage. First of all, it's hurt my feelings a whole lot. That car,
along with your wallet, your feelings,
my wallet, everything. My feelings, everything. You know, but you know, like in 22 when we put the car on nitrous, you know, everyone loved running us before that. After we put the car on nitrous, everybody hated running us because we were so deadly consistent. And then this year, when we finally got the car figured out and started running, the complaining immediately started. You know, oh, it's a race car, it's a pro mod. Oh, we don't want to do this. Oh, he doesn't have that. You know, total conjecture on whether I was in the rules or not in the rules. You know, I think we were accused of cheating actually right after the first race too.
Yeah. The whole cheating thing was just. I've heard it all, and then it all started. Well, you're gonna have to turn off. You're gonna have to not leave on the trans brake. You need to not do this or not do that, and it was the first time we as a team had really experienced that. And you know, of course, Fray and I were attempting to keep Nate focused on driving and not the emotional stuff of all the drama. Okay, if we can call it that. But of course, it's Nate's car, right? So people are going to approach Nate. So Fray and I tried to always have an agreement amongst us. If this happens, how are we going to handle it? Because in all honesty, we were not interested in trying to prove that some other car had, you know, they took the cigarette lighter out and whatever else. we just wanted to have a good time and race, and I think I can honestly say we never cheated the rules.
No. The only rule that we did not meet 100% perfect, and it was because the rule set came out later. So I built my car to the 252 Modern Street rule set. All right. So that rule set was turned out in December of last year, I think, is when
right.
Braxton turned out those rule sets. Right. And so later on, after I'd started to change some stuff on the car, get some weight out of it and stuff like that, the Renegade list for Kinston came out, right? And Lance asked me to be part of that series because he wants it to do well. Well, one of the rules in that is that you have to have a working heater core because they want it to be a daily driver, more modern, more street car, right? Well, I'd already removed that. It was gone. I'd sold it to somebody already, right? And I was like,
we weren't going to go buy a 10-pound heater core,
Yep.
tear apart the entire interior to stick a heater core back in the
for
car.
something we're never going to use because you're not allowed to use your AC or heat while you're at the track anyway.
Well, we're not going to get into a whole subject of what makes a street car and what makes a race car.
Well,
Yes, we will.
We'd be here. When's the sunrise?
But suffice to say, I don't know what a heater core weighs, but I think everyone would agree.
12 pounds.
Maybe around 10 pounds. And if it really was an issue, we'd say, well, go grab a 10-pound weight and throw it in the trunk, and we'll call it good.
Yeah, that's what we offered to do. We told them we'll put 10 pounds in the car. If that will suffice what you're doing, we'll be happy to do that.
But that wasn't the issue at hand. The issue at hand is they didn't want us in the race.
Well, that's what I found in a lot of races, a lot of series. When the one guy starts winning and dominating, the other guys, they don't really fight harder to match that guy's speed or to run as good as that guy. A lot of people just want to eliminate them out.
You're right on that, but the funny part is I wouldn't say we were dominating. It's not like we were going out there and whooping everyone by 3/10 every time. We were just top 3 competitive, and that alone got everyone all riled up.
Actually, in reality, we did work harder than most of them did, because I got to tell you, Nate was at the track on Thursday nights. Every night Gallant was open. We would go to Kinston and test the car. We were testing more than anybody was, and
because we had a lot of bugs we had to work out.
Yeah.
Though. But and like Kinston is a pretty tricky track, especially on a Thursday night.
Yes.
Like they do not put much prep down, and so it took a lot of discipline for us to be like, okay, we got to pull stuff out of the car. And actually, like when we were at the Renegade final, right?
Yep.
We were on our slow tune-up there the entire day.
Well, it takes a lot of time to just get consistent. I mean, you are doing heads-up racing, but at the same time, if you can get a consistency, on that finals, if you do make it to the finals, you might get turned up a little bit. The other cars will be trying to go fast too. You don't want to go too far outside of your range because you know what the car does. You're already about at your max limits, and that's how you get your base tune. But I mean, you just got to keep working on that and get even your team, like you're speaking about, just harmony in your team. That goes a long ways.
Yeah.
Well, the main thing that these two guys do for me, well, first of all, like in between races, we all contribute to working on the car. Like obviously, I pay for everything; it's my car. But Nick shows up pretty much any weekend I ask him to help me work on the car. Fray has showed up after work multiple times. We've gotten so good at pulling out the transmission in my car, we can pull it out, swap out torque converters, and put it back in the car in an hour. Like, done.
That's part of what I wanted to do, and what part of what we're doing is everything in racing. I want folks to be able to see your car, see your Mustang on the track with the flag on it. But I want them to say, hey, that's Nate with Nick and Fray. That's the team. And so there's so many that don't get to know that aspect of every team. There's so many racers that they can't get the car there by themselves. There's no way they can be at that competitive level as a one-man show.
It's not a one. I don't really think you can make it as a one-man car anymore.
The big thing that these two do for me at the track is they take the decisions away from me. Right? My job, my only job, is to get the car down the track and give data to these two. Cut a light and give data to these two. That's it. Once it's back, it's their car.
So once you get back, you're signing autographs, signing babies,
kissing babies, and all that stuff.
And that's what he has to do. He needs to concentrate on on the driving part. The rest of it we try to figure out, and I feel blessed that me and Nick get along great. You
Yep.
know, with none of this bickering. Well, you did this, you did that. No, if we lose as a team, if we win as a team, that's it. It's a team concept, and that's really and truly been a good aspect of it. Because when I first met Nick, I said, "Oh God, I'm in for trouble." And then after we talked and sat down, you know, and BS, I found out Nick's a cool dude, and I enjoy being around him. You know, we have some fun, we pick and carry on, and he always looks out for you, and that's the good thing about it. It's a good friendship, and I feel blessed to have him, you know, as a friend, because sometimes you don't get to meet people like that. And with racing, you know, as long as I've done it, I've met some good people, and it's really a family-oriented sports because everybody's always out trying to help each other, and that's the thing that you don't see, you know, in a whole lot of sports. It's always this adage that, you know, I can't help you because you'll beat me. It's not that way. People always come around looking at the car, and that's what really and truly made me feel good was people that you never would expect to come around and ask questions, look at the car. We've even had little kids want to get in there and sit down, you know, and that really makes you feel good that you got people that want to come around and talk to you and ask you, okay, what have you done? You know, how can you help me out? And I enjoy it. I do. And I hope, you know, I'm around a little bit longer to get to do it some more.
Yeah. Well, that's always been a thing I've encouraged the guys to do. If I'm not at the car and a little kid comes by, I'm like, let them sit in the car, you know. Brainwash them early, man. You know, we got to have that next generation of racers, you know. And if this was the thing, like, oh, man, you know, my dad took me to the track and the racers let me sit in the cars, like, you know, we should never discourage them, you know, from doing, oh, no, I don't want to talk to you. I don't.
Absolutely. You know. And I heard you mention the word blessed, and that's something I told Nate I'd like to touch on in this series. I was very blessed. Speaking about the kids coming out, I was brought up with my dad carrying me to the track. There was years in my life that I wasn't able to go to the track when I became a young adult, young parent. But I was blessed to go to the track back in the years when Ronnie Sox and Bunny Burkett and Scotty Cannon were coming to the track. And just those guys were bigger than the earth. I mean, it was just so wonderful to see them. And I've been very blessed in that aspect. I know you say you've met Nick, and Nick was the blessing that came into your life that got you into this addiction.
A financial blessing, yeah.
And so, as a team, do y'all see faith playing much of a role in your team, or?
Absolutely. You know, we always pray before we start any event. You know, it's usually Nick that prays for us. You know, and it's you know, we always have like a little team meeting first of all, and like just remind ourselves, why are we here? We're not here to, you know, say we're the greatest or whatever. We're here to have a good time. We're here to be safe. You know, but if we're not going to be able to be a blessing to the people that we're around, there's no reason for us to be there.
Absolutely. So as far as your team, what do you guys got planned going forward? I heard you mention you're taking a slight break this year. You got some building going on with the car.
So the reason behind it is that the car blew up at the end of last season. The engine.
I saw videos on that.
Yes, the engine had a complete failure on it. Lifted the heads, melted the block, melted the heads, destroyed the crank, and all of the pistons.
It exited.
There was no the water exited the block, you know, and at about 150, I think is what it was.
Well, 130, and essentially there were mechanical failures at the head gasket, right, that started to play out. But what essentially took place is it pressurized the water system and blew off one of the hoses, putting water down on the track. There's video of it. Nate did a heck of a job.
I've seen the video. Maybe we could throw a clip in there.
Yeah,
we can throw a clip in here.
Yeah, keeping that sucker off the wall. I think everyone on the starting line was guiding it with their hands, going, no. We didn't. Nate kept it off the wall.
Of course, in the video, this guy's cool. He's like, yeah, he's got it.
Yeah, Fray had all the confidence in the world. Yeah.
So you were that guy that everyone's always talking about. If you're not running behind me when I'm going down the track, You were the ones like, yeah, he's got it, guys. Don't worry.
Yeah.
He's got this.
Yeah. So
The only thing I didn't do that I should have was throw the parachute. Now, partially that was my fault because where I placed the parachute in the car is not a convenient spot to get to it. When you're going straight down the track and you're on a fine pass, it's easy to get to. When you're going back and forth and just trying to keep that sucker off the wall, it's not in a good spot. So we're changing that. But,
so the water line came off. Luckily, it was pure water. The track didn't get too upset with us. We got the car back, and we didn't quite notice it up front. We put the water line back on, and we started pouring water back into it. And I said, "Hey, what's that sound?" And Fray looks underneath the car, and he's like, "Well, that's the water you just poured in coming out." And I said, "Well, gentlemen, we think we got a problem slightly larger than a hose coming off."
Yep.
And it got pressurized for a reason. Well, at first we thought, because we were working on the car the night before, we thought maybe one of us was just a little tired and forgot to tighten the hose clamp. That's where it could happen. So we thought, all right, well, look, things happen, right? No blaming. We tightened we put the hose back on, put the hose clamp back on, started pouring water in it. That's when I heard something I wasn't supposed to hear. Fray looks under the car, says, "Gentlemen, there's water coming out as fast as you're pouring in." So we knew we were done, and we were pretty sure. And at that point, Nate looked up and saw through the head gasket, like right where the head and the block meet. There was probably like, what, a quarter inch?
3/4 inch holes that it had melted through the side of the head. It had turned the inside of the cylinder into plasma and just.
Yeah,
So
but by the way, I shout out to Dart and Sleeves, because those suckers held up. It went right over the Dart and Sleeve,
Yeah,
out
the Dart
the
and sleeves were
aluminum
not
block.
affected at all.
Yeah, so shout out to Dart and Sleeves. That was the only thing that didn't melt.
So we've narrowed it down to a couple potential issues, and it's impossible to prove 100% what happened. So I don't want there to be any finger pointing, blame assessing. This person did that, or this person didn't do that, or whatever.
Irrelevant now.
It's irrelevant now. What's happened has happened, right? At the end of the day, the big problem was we did not O-ring around the sleeves in between the block and the head, right? And on a Coyote, 27 pounds of boost is pretty much where you need to chill out.
So you found a max.
Yeah. Well, I thought we were only making like 26 pounds of boost. As it turns out, we were making 31 pounds of boost.
That could be a
Because
problem.
once you take because of course we put a bigger supercharger on the car, pulled the crap out of it. We got into all of our belt slip issues
beautiful, by
figured
the way.
out.
It was a beautiful VMP Gen 3R.
VMP Gen 3 2650. That thing was awesome.
It was gorgeous looking.
It made 1,000 horsepower before we put nitrous on it. On lower boost.
At the rear.
At the rear.
On 15-inch
on
drag radials.
Yep. Through a turbo 400. So I mean, she was cooking.
She was healthy.
So we were theorizing we were making somewhere around 31 pounds of boost, and that was enough to lift the heads enough to melt through. Because once you've introduced more air into it, now the air fuel mixture is off. It goes really lean, and that's what ultimately.
Yeah, you got a torch come out the side of the motor.
Exactly. So that's what happened. So because of that happening.
Enter picture here.
Picture here.
Yeah.
We kind of made a decision as a team. It was ultimately my decision because it's my money that's going into it. But I think the car got a lot faster than we had meant for it to go. So this year our record was a 542 at 131 miles an hour. Eighth mile, at Kinston on our slow tune-up. Right, we had more in that car.
But see, this is the start of it right there. This was the start of it, because Nate said that before the season's out, he wants to go 130 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
We told him it was going to happen. We didn't expect it to happen at Kinston, because that track is crap. We always had trouble with that track, and we looked up this time. We figured it out.
Yep.
And I told Nate, I said, "Well, here you go. Let's have fun."
Yep.
And there it was.
Yep. We did it there. I was using my parachute there,
Yeah.
Which there was like, why do you gotta throw the parachute? I'm like, you've never been at the top end of Kinston. It's sketchy. You
It gets
need
dark
that parachute.
quick.
It gets dark real quick. Those trees come at you. You're just like, oh, the trees are getting real close.
Yeah, and 130 miles an hour, you better do something real quick, because it comes to the end.
Yeah, I can imagine. I've done that once before, but I was running a quarter off just natural aspirated car, and we just decided to stretch rod bolts at 130. And you ever been watching NASCAR and you hear, yeah, that was going through after the shotgun had gone off in the car. So I know stopping one at that rate of speed, even you were running in the eighth. I can only imagine.
Yeah. So after we had that incident, we kind of had to like reevaluate the car a little bit. One of the problems with the engine that could have led to the engine is I had too many hands in the cookie jar, too many different people working on the same thing, so that when an incident like this happens, literally everyone can point the finger at everyone else and say, well, it could have been that, it could have been that, it could have been this. And I'm not pointing fingers at anybody, just to be absolutely clear. I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. But for my own peace of mind, I need to have just one person working on stuff. So we're having the engine built by Hauser Racing Engines. He's a local shop here to us, and he's actually going to come on at some point. He's agreed to come on. And so it's going to be a single point of failure, basically going, okay, one person is in charge of this. One person works on the transmissions. One person works on the converters. That way we don't have this, finger pointing, blame assessing. The car's getting a whole lot more cage in it. We know it's time for us to move up to that next class. Braxton has basically made the rules where we have to move up to the next class.
Safety's always number one, and safety's got to match the speed of the car.
Exactly.
And we know where we were, and we did it. I think we did a better job than a lot. Fray and I always made it clear, if Nate's not going to invest in safety, we're not going to the track. That's probably our only rule.
Yep.
And we know we're looking to step up, and if we're going to step up in power and drop those ETs, we got to step up on the cage and our overall safety program. And so that's a big thing that's taken place this year.
And that's a call out to all you guys as well, right? If you know you're running the speeds that you're running, put a cage in the car. Put a good cage in the car. Put at least a 4-point harness. Wear your Hans device. Have a actually SFI approved helmet, or bell or whatever.
Some type of containment for your head.
Yeah.
Yeah, match your safety to your speed. Your family wants you to come home, and even your racing family. I mean, we're part of your racing family, obviously, for doing this. So all of us want to see everyone to go out there, have a good time, fellowship, and get back home to their family so we can do it all over again.
You can't take all the risk out of racing, but you can take the majority out of it. And I told Nate I'm never going to call his wife and said Nate's not coming home tonight because he was stupid.
No. And I told him that because I just can't, see him go down that track and not knowing that he's not safe. I know I've done it, but like I say, I was just lucky. But right now, with what's going on, you just can't take a chance on it.
Yeah.
So the car is being worked on all 2024.
2024, we're pretty much going to take the season off. We're new engine, a lot of chassis work. We're still working on figuring out if we want to do an aftermarket ECU, and our power adder. Because I'm not going to go back with the same setup that potentially caused the problem. That's just like, why spend all this money and then put back the exact same conditions that caused the first problem?
Yeah, and give yourself a learning curve as well.
Something new. So, we're still working out exactly what all that's going to be. Can't give away all the secrets right now.
Of course.
We kind of reached the end of the road with that setup.
Yeah.
I mean, was there one more tenth in it? Well, there's always one more tenth in it, but there wasn't 5 more tenths in what we were doing.
No, I don't think so. I think but like we said, we had got a whole lot faster than we ever dreamed.
We got all the good out of it we were going to get.
Yep.
I think we did, and we did it safely. And, the thing is, we upset a lot of racers after the end of the season.
So Fray, what was your favorite race of the season?
I'm going to say probably Kinston.
Really?
Either between Kinston and Streetcar Takeover, because Streetcar Takeover was a blast. That was the first time I had ever, been there. It was the first time I ever participated in it. It was
out at ZMAX.
Yeah.
Yeah, plus one.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed all the races, but Streetcar Takeover was
a well-run event, and it was nice. And I mean, we met a lot of nice people down there. We did. We were fortunately that everybody, around there were real cool about everything. Everybody talked to everybody. It was, like I say, it's still just like a family event.
And I was going to ask, even though you're off the season, there's a few events you're going to try to hit this year, maybe as a team, just go get a little information, data.
Nick and I are talking about going down to Lights Out at the end of this month. That I've never been to one, and I hear there's some really fast cars out there, so I'd like to check it out.
We're going to go get some ideas. We're going to go see what combos run and what times. It's always tough because you kind of have to, are you building a car for yourself and then going to find out what class it works in, or do you pick a class you want to run and build the car to those specifications, right? And, we've taken a look at PDRA. We've taken a look at other things just to try to decide what direction we want to go with the car, right? And what kind of events do we like going to? And obviously, all three of us have full-time jobs. So what kind of events can we get to and still do what we need to do, to earn the funds? So,
Yeah. The only disappointing part about that Kinston race is we snapped an axle in the finals on the start line.
Yeah, I was there.
That
dude, she was on a rail.
She
that
was on
night.
a rail.
That was.
And I knew if I cut even a similar time to Cocaine on the tree, that he didn't have a chance. And we cut the exact same reaction time on the tree. And I was like, I got you. And then it went, patoosh. I was like, oh.
It shot ball bearings out of that thing like a shotgun.
Yeah, that big, 6 ball bearings that big shot out from under that car. Kenny found one of them.
But that was going to be a fun race.
Yeah, we now the funny part was the whole time we thought they were 2,000 horsepower drive shaft shop axles, and we were thinking, well, if we just blew a 2,000 horsepower axle, where do we go from here? Fast forward, funny fact.
Yeah,
it wasn't.
I drove to drive shaft shop because we were supposed to have a race out of Hertford that weekend. That got canceled because of rain. But so that week, I'm scrambling to get a set of axles in the car. I'm like, she's on a rip. We're gonna win this next one. It's gonna be great. And so I called Drive Shaft Shop, and I'm like, hey, I need a set of your 2,000 horsepower axles. I just snapped a set of your 2,000 horsepower axles, so, can you do something for me? They're like, well, bring them to us, and we'll give you at least a credit for them. I think it was like a $500 credit. So
they were being super cool.
They were being super cool. And they're like, we've got a set here for you. Just bring them to us, and we'll trade them. You pay the extra, whatever. And I bring them, I put them on the table, and the guy goes, oh, yeah, those are 1400s.
He took one look at me, knew, so he was like, and by the way, those are the old style ones that didn't hold up as good as the new ones anyways.
He's
so
like, I'm surprised they lasted for you this long. And we're like, oh, yeah, thank you for Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah,
but how long did we bang on them things?
3 years.
Okay.
When you got 2,000 out of them, it was just different races.
Yeah, exactly.
And they still, actually, the drive shaft shop still gave you a discount, didn't they?
They did.
Which was actually
they honored
really cool.
They honored their deal.
Which was really cool. They didn't have to. That was cool.
No, but you've got to look. Those axles have been punished.
Oh my gosh!
You think about the 60 foots that car has been turning.
She's a 3,700 pound car.
I was about to say emotional damage. She ain't a light girl.
No. Well, and that was to our advantage. We used all that weight to our advantage. That's what a lot of people didn't realize. Yes, we were heavy. There's no joke about it. But we used the weight to our advantage, and that was the difference between us cutting belt of 60 foots and everybody else.
Well, yeah, whenever you guys really got that car together, if I could look out there, if it was about 150 feet out, and that hood was just up in the air, I was like, oh God. Well, whoever's in that other lane better do some work.
What threw off a lot of people too is I didn't foot brake that car. I would stamp on it from an idle. I would literally get it there, have my foot barely on the brake, just stop myself from moving, And then as soon as I knew it was time, I would just stand on the gas.
The way that converter locked up, it was just very different. It was
violent.
It was one of those things that we learned, right, just from testing, was that we could cut much better 60 foots, kind of, I'll call it smacking it, than building it up.
Yeah.
Slingshotting it pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Basically, that torque converter flashed. The torque converter was set to flash at 35 to 4,000, and we knew if we could get it to leave at that, nobody else could leave that hard.
Yeah, thank you, JW Converters. They custom made that thing for me, and it was awesome.
It was on the money.
I'm sending them back my converters to respect them for what we're going to be doing.
And when we did use the trans brake, we could leave it 55, 5,800. No one could leave that hard, and that really and truly made
it made a lot of people hit the scramble button early.
Yeah.
Because we would jump out on someone, and of course, when you jump out on someone, they get nervous. They start doing all kinds of things.
Yep.
Right to catch up.
And really, people couldn't believe that we could make that car leave that hard on a drag radial. Everybody says a drag radial hooks that good. Yes.
Do you remember that Corvette that we spanked down there at Streetcar Takeover?
Oh yes, that was beautiful.
So this guy
coming from a GM guy.
I know, right?
Yeah,
I'm making them believers on Ford, man.
Well, whoa.
So you still own a Corvette, and you apparently own a Nova, but we've never seen any pictures of it, and it's like, okay, yeah, sure, you own a Nova.
We got the Chevy guys on this.
Yeah, exactly. I'm surrounded by Chevy guys on all sides, and we're all driving Fords.
That's why this car went fast.
Yeah, but so the finals that we got to do at Streetcar Takeover, we pulled this blue Corvette. It was a 10, 11.
All I know is that my side of the story is super cool, dude. Right, super cool car. It was a Vengeance Racing built LME powered
Power
Corvette
glide, transmission,
Power Glide,
solid rear axle. This thing was built.
And this dude had some money in this car, and I had always, I knew LME builds a pretty wicked motor, and I would always kind of wondered, you're talking top shelf parts were on this car. This was not built in a garage. This did not have Amazon and Facebook Marketplace sourced nothing. This was all top shelf. So I said,
beautiful
Nate,
interior. I mean, the guy had really done some good work on this.
Yeah, this was one of those things you kind of just stopped and stared at and went, wow.
And before I race anybody, I always try to find them first, and I just ask, to be courteous, do you want to go in first, or do you want me to go in first? Right now, there's some guys that I race that I don't give them that option. Right, because I've raced them enough times, we battered at each other, or they've been rude to me in the past, or whatever. I don't give them that option. Or some people I know, they're so entrenched in the way that they do stuff that I'm not going to give them that option just to throw them off.
Yeah,
right?
every advantage you can get. Man.
Exactly. But this guy, I did find him ahead of time. I was like, hey, do you want to bump in first? Do you want me to bump in first? What do you want to do? And he asked, if you wouldn't mind letting me pre-stage first, I'd appreciate that. I was like, okay, great. What I didn't tell him I was going to do is the moment he pre-staged, I was going to just pre-stage full stage. So, because he's a turbo car. It was gigantic turbo on this thing. So
I think he said, 94?
Yeah, it was a 94 millimeter turbo.
Yeah, 94.
So I do my burnout. He does his. He pre-stages. I just pre-stage full stage. He comes up on the power, and he bumps in. Light goes green. I leave. Like, I cut a .07, 0.08.
You were. I'm here to tell you that by the time his tires cracked, you were 3.5 car lengths out.
Yeah, he cut a .4 on the reaction time. I was at least 3 or 4 cars out there.
About 3.5, and it was like he was eating a sandwich.
Yeah, exactly. And we did have a breakout. We had an 862 breakout, right? And me, as the driver in the car, I was like, man, she is on a rip. She was going
quarter mile.
She was going faster than I'd ever felt her go, right? I was like, oh, man, she's on a rip. And so with maybe 100 feet left to do, I let off. And he came flying past me with 5 feet left to go. But he broke out. He broke out because it didn't matter what my lapse time was. He was trying to run me down. He jumped on that scramble button. He tracked me back down. I went through the traps at 144 miles an hour. He went through the traps at 178.
He was coming.
He was flying.
So what's funny is, when you're sitting on the start-stop line, right, and two cars take off on a quarter mile, once they get past the 8th, if one is, let's say, slowly gaining the other due to your depth perception, you can't tell that. I'm standing on the stop line. I think, Fray, you were there with me, right? You were there. And I can literally see this vet coming in like chunks on Nate. And I'm going, oh no, this ain't good. Oh no, this ain't good. This car is coming. And like you could literally see it making like 1 car length, 2 car length, 3 car length. And normally you can't, right? So it could tell you his mile an hour was so much more. And I always kind of wondered what an LME 427 could do, and
you found out.
I found out. I think later we talked to the guy later. He was super cool, and I think he finally admitted he was making 3,500 horses, 3,000.
Yeah, because we were on that setup. We were only about maybe 1,100 horsepower.
I think he was at 20. I think his was 25. I think it was.
Yeah, you know what?
Like,
yeah. That's it, Fray. It was.
And he was sandbagging so bad.
Yeah.
But like we killed him so hard off the light that he had to grab the scramble button to track us back down. And then
you got to use every advantage you can get, man.
It's 1,320 feet in a quarter mile. It took him 1,313 feet to catch me, and he didn't have enough time to slow down. So we won the race because he broke out. But it was just one of those, like, I let off thinking like, oh, I got plenty of space, and then goosh, his car goes past me. I was like, holy crap.
Yeah, that was a bad car.
Yeah,
that was we took the win. I wouldn't want to line up next to him again under the same conditions, because you know.
No, the old man was he. But honestly, it goes back to the same thing. He was real cool, because when he came back, he stopped by the trailer and come over there and talked to us and everything before he went down to his trailer. Congratulated us and everything.
And I don't know who he is. Like I'd love to talk to him again. If you're out there watching, I'd love to have you on the podcast. Come on, bud. Give your version of it. This cocky kid comes up and kills you on the tree.
And that was with the trans brake.
That was with the trans. We were allowed to use the trans brake.
And we did. We left in front of him again.
Yeah.
Yeah. That whole event though was just super fun.
Yeah.
Hot.
It was hot.
Yeah.
You were in the car with a fire suit.
Yeah, I'm in a black car in my black fire suit with the black interior.
Yeah,
these two won't let me out of the car. Once I'm in the car and I'm strapped in, they won't let me out. And so I'm just in there boiling.
All that black is a self-inflicted wound.
Yeah. She looks better. She looks better in all black.
Well, we did open up the doors for him to let a breeze come in.
Yeah, I mean, what more do you want? Yeah, we opened up the door and we put a little computer fan in there for him. At least gives him just a little wafting of air.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will admit to that. That is one thing that we did this year. Is one of the events I was going to do. It said he had to have working air in the car, right? And so I asked the guy. I was like, well, how do you know if I have working air in the car? Are you going to test? Because you don't want us to turn the AC on. He's like, I'm going to ask you to turn the fans on. As long as I can feel even a slight breeze coming through the vents, I know that you got air in the car. I was like, okay, cool. So I put 2 little computer fans that run on 12 volts up
I
under
won't
the
tell
dash.
no one.
It's fine now. It doesn't matter. I put it up under the dash where all the vents are, and I put it on a toggle switch. And so, I went to that event, and the guy's like, all right, I got to check your air. And I just go and I hit it real quick, and it starts blowing through. He goes, oh, I guess you do got air in there. You're good to go, bud.
They'll never know.
It counted. It was per the rules that he stated. That met the rules.
Trust me, there was air in the car. You were breathing.
Yeah, I was breathing. Yeah,
there's air.
There's it.
Yeah, and it did circulate.
Yeah, it had air.
Yeah. Although I will tell you what, if there's anyone who can find a gray area in a set of rules, it's that joker right there.
Fray's ridiculous in finding the.
Like I told you, I've always been the poor man. I've always used used parts and everything, so I had to figure out ways to get around it.
As what does it say in broke wallets, or is the invention of necessity, or?
Yep. Well, and I would run it out of my back pocket. I had a shop that I worked at that I owned, and I had another job, but I had other obligations, so I had to figure out. I buy used tires and everything, just try to make it to the race, and that was the thing. I was never fortunate, to buy a lot of new parts. My stuff was used and abused. I just had to do the best I could with what I had.
I think that's a lot of racers nowadays. They just want to come out here and have a good time. It's become so expensive and so competitive. But I mean, there's almost everyone's almost classed out nowadays because it's hard for the blue collar guy to just get out there and have fun. That's why I mean.
Well, cars are so much faster now than they were back in the day.
Well, they're so much easier to make faster too.
Oh yeah, I mean like. When I was in college, I would go down to Test and Tune, which was at Rockingham on a Friday night back then, right? So every Friday night, that's where you're gonna find me. Nate's riding all the time, but I still got hundreds of passes on him, and my Camaro was running mid to low 12s, and that was ripping fast back then, ripping fast. Now, like you can go buy a stock whatever, and you can buy a Camry and it'll run low.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, guys, this has been a lot of fun. I definitely want to have you guys back on again, either individually or together. I know you've got some stuff you got to go do.
Yep, that's all right.
Fray, I know it's
And
been a
after
long
you've
day
gone
for
through a
you.
little bit more therapy to get some of those memories back.
Rockingham. Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, because we did blow up at Rockingham, and then we traded all the belts at Rockingham. Like every problem we had this year was at Rockingham.
It's going to take a bit to go back. We'll go back again.
We will.
We'll go back.
Yeah, but I ain't going.
Ray said, not till you get rid of that bad juju.
Yeah. Once y'all make a couple of passes down there, then I feel comfortable coming down.
Yep.
No, I'll come down. Rockingham's been a good track for me. I raced a lot there, and all, so I will go back. It's just part of racing. You have to take the good with the bad.
Yep.
Shout out to those guys. They're making a lot of renovations.
Shout out to Rockingham.
I'm keeping up with it
Shout
all
out
the
to
time.
Rockingham. Yep.
Yes, they have.
I wasn't sure what I was more excited about. We'll end on this. I wasn't excited whether I was about the 800 feet of concrete that they did to the start of the track, because it used to be the last couple of years it was been crap.
Yeah.
Absolute crap. Or the renovated bathrooms. Because, man, I was not tired of peeing in a trough next to a whole bunch of other guys going, I am the small guy here. Oh, crap,
Yeah,
We're going to definitely end on that.
Yep.
Well, it's been great having you guys on. Once again, if you're just tuning in, if you just caught this, definitely stay in tune with Everything in Racing, our Facebook page.
Yep, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Drop a comment, drop a like on it.
If any of this stuff has struck home with you, tell us your story, and we'd love to hear it.
In 2025, if you see us at the track, come say hey.
Yeah.
Please do.
We love to say hey to everybody. We're not too proud of who we are. If you want to follow me, I'm the FastPlumber on Instagram and on YouTube. Our YouTube channel is Everything in Racing, and you also have all the 10-5 Life stuff.
10-5 Life, TEN 5 Life, Facebook. We're on TikTok. So check us out. Stay in tune.
All right, guys. Until next time, we'll see you around.
See you around.
All right, be
This is
good.
fun, guys.
Be good.